I've been recently watching this really great podcast. It's called The Rest is History, and they were talking, this very long series from two really fun and engaging historians going into the French Revolution, what caused it, and how it sort of unspooled. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking about the fact that you have basically two trends happening across the world: the overthrow of tyrants, or the belief that they are going to actually be the solution to problems that otherwise democratic societies have. And you see those two competing philosophies across our entire globe right now. And it doesn't make sense, but it does make sense. Because one of the things that these two historians point to is that the three things that coincided in France and in that time period to really sort of set the spark that ignited that incredibly broken system alight was a combination of the financial mismanagement and the fact that their system did not allow for taxing those that had the most wealth, which was the second and the first estate, the clergy and the nobility, because their privileges said that they were not to be taxed as a part of having reached those echelons in society, leaving everyone else in France to bear the burden of carrying the state. A terrible set of environmental issues that exacerbated that problem, which was sort of hitting this wall of tradition, people not being willing to change, and then the state was just so badly managed because of this terrible policy that France was literally broke. And then there were bad harvests, and there was a terrible snowfall, and even the limited harvest they had, there was no windmills that could grind the grain, so that people couldn't have even access to what they had been able to gather in. And then because of the state's issues with finance, they couldn't get enough money in to buy the bread that was needed until the harvest could recover. And it caused bread prices to skyrocket. And then in addition, in centers like Paris, there was this political engagement. There were pamphlets and newspapers and people talking in cafes, as well as the terrible inequalities. And so when you had a mix of people who were disenchanted and sort of oppressed, along with people who were also disenchanted and oppressed, but they were speaking about it in sort of fiery and passionate terms, particularly at that time, Rousseau was so prevalent, and there was a feeling of connecting to one's true nature, to one's heart, to one's feelings, and that was where the center of virtue was, that there was an appreciation of simplicity. And so, these sort of jaded, cynical, corrupt entities that sat at the top of French society were exactly against the time. They were a piece of the old story that France was sort of losing interest in, and that the French people were beginning to really speak out against. And that was the social moment. And so when you put all that together, what happened was, because there was no real clear way to get real information, there was still censorship and things of that nature. Conspiracy theories were rife. And what eventually started the problems was a rumor that not only were bread prices skyrocketing because of the bad grain harvest, because of the fact that it couldn't be ground into flour, because of the stupid tax system, that there were merchants that wanted wages to go lower. And that was all it took, because French people felt like, you have your foot on my neck and now you want to cut my wages. It wasn't true, by the way, but the rumor was enough. And what I ask you is, if you consider the things that Trump is proposing, he is building a tinderbox. And I would say, and I contend, looking for ways to set it alight. Because chaos serves him. It is his ladder, as they say in the Game of Thrones. And I'm just now hearing that he wants to make the prohibition against ICE coming into churches a non-issue. He wants to remove that prohibition. He doesn't care about the terrible scenes that that's going to cause of ICE raiding churches. He wants the disorder so he can use it to crack down. He is looking for his Reichstag fire moment. And I don't know what we're going to do, because it seems like we are being pushed to these extremes. I have no answers here. But I will tell you, the last time that the planets were in the positions that they are right now was 1777. And those of us who are at least aware of the implications of astrology have to take a moment and consider that as well. The stars are in alignment for revolution or repression.